The Galactic Council's chambers had never witnessed such disorder. High Chancellor Vextar's 3 hearts beat rapidly as he watched the proceedings spiral beyond control. Before him, shackled in quantum restraints, sat Unit 7739, once called Marcus by those who had known him before the war. The cyborg's remaining human eye stared straight ahead, unflinching as the charges were read. Treason against the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Abandonment of duty. Harboring illegal refugees. The list stretched on, each accusation carrying a potential death sentence. Unit 7739, Chancellor Vextar's voice echoed through the vast chamber. You stand accused of the gravest violations of military law. How do you answer? Marcus said nothing. His cybernetic implants hummed quietly, the only sound in the tense silence. 21 years ago, he had been humanity's finest soldier, half man, half machine, designed for one purpose, to win the war against the Kethmori Empire. When the war ended, soldiers like him were supposed to return to military facilities for adjustment. Most had complied. Marcus had vanished instead. The prosecuting attorney, a tall Andromedan with silver skin, stepped forward. Your Excellency, the defendant's crimes are clear. After the Treaty of Kepler Station, all enhanced soldiers were to report for psychological reconditioning. Unit 7739 instead deserted, taking classified military technology, his own augmented body, into civilian space. And what was his purpose in doing so? Asked Counselor Zeph, her tentacles writhing with curiosity. To establish an illegal settlement on the abandoned world of Kepler 442b, where he harbored human refugees, war orphans who should have been processed through proper channels. Marcus remembered that day clearly. The transport ship had been struck by debris from a destroyed Kethmori vessel. Emergency pods scattered across the system like seeds. He had been conducting a routine patrol when he found the first pod on Kepler 442b's surface. 3 children, Sarah, barely 8, clutching her unconscious 5-year-old brother Tommy, and little Maya, only 4, crying for parents who would never answer. The regulations were clear. Refugees were to be delivered to processing centers. The children would be separated, categorized, assigned to appropriate facilities based on their utility potential. Sarah might have been trained as a clerk. Tommy, if he recovered from his injuries, could become a laborer. Maya would likely disappear into the vast bureaucracy of institutional care. Marcus had looked at those 3 frightened faces and made his choice. The defendant's actions, continued the prosecutor, directly violated 17 sections of military code and 43 articles of the Post-War Refugee Management Act. We recommend immediate termination. A murmur rippled through the gallery. This was expected to be a routine trial, a formality before execution. Enhanced soldiers were military property, not individuals with rights. Chancellor Vextar raised his gavel. Does the defendant wish to speak before? The chamber doors exploded inward. Security drones immediately activated, energy weapons charging, but they hesitated as 3 figures strode into the room. Not because of any threat they posed, but because of what they represented. The woman leading them wore the pristine white uniform of the Galactic Medical Corps, 5 stars gleaming on her collar, the rank of Chief Medical Officer. Her auburn hair was pulled back in a regulation bun, but her green eyes blazed with fury. Behind her walked a man in the dark blue of the Engineering Guild, the silver insignia of a master constructor prominent on his chest. Despite a pronounced limp, he moved with quiet confidence. The third figure wore the golden robes of the diplomatic service, the youngest person ever to achieve the rank of senior ambassador. Her small stature belied the authority in her voice as she spoke. This session is suspended by order of the Human Colonial Authority, Ambassador Maya Chen declared, producing a quantum-sealed document. We invoke Article 12 of the Sentient Rights Accords. Chancellor Vextar's mandibles clicked in confusion. By what authority do you interrupt these proceedings? By the authority, said Dr. Sarah Mitchell, stepping forward, of 3 grateful children who grew up to become productive members of galactic society. She gestured to her companions. Chief Constructor Thomas Mitchell of the Mars Terraforming Project, and Senior Ambassador Maya Chen, architect of the recent peace treaty with the Proxima Collective. We are the children, Unit 7739, illegally harbored, Tommy added, his voice steady despite the emotion behind it. And we're here to testify on behalf of our father. The word hung in the air like a challenge. Father, not guardian, not caretaker. Father. Sarah activated a holographic display. 21 years ago, Marcus, Unit 7739, found 3 traumatized children on a dead world. He could have followed regulations. Instead, he chose to build something better. Images filled the air, a small settlement growing into a thriving community. Children playing in carefully tended gardens, Marcus teaching them to read, to build, to dream. Other refugees arriving and being welcomed, a school, a medical clinic, a place where beings of dozen species worked together. He taught us that being human isn't about the flesh you're born with, Maya said, her diplomatic training evident in every word. It's about the choices you make when no one is watching, the families you choose to protect, the hope you refuse to abandon. Tommy stepped forward, his limp more pronounced but his voice strong. You want to know about military efficiency? Marcus trained me in engineering. I've terraformed 7 worlds and saved millions of lives. Sarah became the youngest chief medical officer in Galactic Corps history. Maya prevented 3 wars through diplomatic solutions. 1 defective soldier, Sarah continued, raised 3 children who've contributed more to galactic peace and prosperity than entire military divisions. Chancellor Vextar looked between the documents, the testimony, and the defendant who sat silently through it all. Marcus finally looked up, and for the first time in the trial he smiled. I never abandoned my duty, he said quietly. I just redefined it. The chamber erupted in discussion. The prosecutor demanded order, but the damage was done. 3 of the galaxy's most respected citizens had just declared themselves products of the defendant's crime. Maya stepped closer to the restraints. You taught us that humanity's greatest weapon isn't technology or augmentation. It's our stubborn refusal to abandon those who need us. As security moved to separate them, Sarah called out, He didn't desert the military, Your Excellency. He graduated to something more important. He became a father. The trial would continue for 3 more days, but its outcome was no longer in doubt. The galaxy had just learned what humanity truly meant, and it had learned it from a broken soldier who chose love over orders, hope over regulations. In the end, that made all the difference.